You know what a good fandom is?
The D&D fandom.
The
Everyone's
D&D fandom. You know what? There's no one who likes D&D who isn't.
Point out to me
lovely.
one horror story from a D&D campaign. Doesn't exist. There isn't a subreddit about it or anything at all. Everyone who plays D&D is perfect.
If you go over to that subreddit, it just says, "Oh, well, you're the first person to click on this subreddit."
Whenever anyone has a discussion about D&D online, everyone just sort of agrees immediately. You don't really see much D&D talk online because everyone just understands it really well and agrees.
Yeah,
so there's not much discussion.
These rules aren't written ambiguously.
These videos are pretty redundant because everyone will come to the same conclusion about everything we say. So.
It's true, and everyone who draws the class will draw the same thing.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more important to D&D than consistency.
Uniformity.
Uniform experience. I'm not sure if any of this is usable yet. Should we keep doing an intro until we get somewhere? It's Unearthed ARTcana. Once again, I was getting into doing some... I was thinking, I'm going to do some stuff that's not to do with D&D, and then those foul wizards have penned another horrible document full of classes that I am now bound to draw.
Theo actually left his door, walked out 10 steps, and then there was a man in the trench coat and a raid who said, "Are you Theo?" And he pulled out a letter from 100 years ago.
We've had this letter for 100 years, buddy, just for you. So yes, I guess we'll say who I'm Theo.
I'm Neil.
And I'm Sam.
Yeah, so it's the usual thing. The gang is here. This great thing. It's another revisited. So these are classes that they've done once, and they've taken another shot at them. Oh, and I'll take this opportunity as well to point out the now there's a new Unearthed Arcana. The previous Unearthed Arcana survey is available to be done, and I think this is a very good time to mention that, just because all the revisions that happen for the subclasses are basically it's all to do with the survey. So if you like stuff, let people know, because if things are missing from newer versions of these classes, it's because not enough people who liked it said, "Yeah, good job," on the surveys. Anyway, there'll be a link to the survey and to the actual PDF. And
I'm definitely going to be filling out a couple of them with some of these subclasses, because these ones are very different to what their brethren were.
Well, it's revisited more specifically than revised, so I guess this is actually just taking another crack at a similar idea for the class as opposed to reworking it.
Lining up for another swing at it.
Yeah. So we're going to do the Rogue today, which is the Phantom. Used to be the...
Revived.
The Revived, yeah, because the Revived originally... I don't think we're going to compare them directly because we haven't got all day, but the Revived was like...
Reincarnation. Almost.
Yeah, you had multiple past lives, and you yourself were undead to a certain degree as well. It was kind of interesting. That came out before we started making these videos. I'm pretty pleased with what I've drawn. From the very first line, it's probably moderately clear what race I went with. I guess it could be a Dragonborn from the way that I draw Dragonborn, but no, it is. I'm drawing a Tiefling, because I thought, whenever there's a class that's inherently magical, I don't like giving it a non-magical race, especially if I'm drawing a sort of quote-unquote generic one. From reading this, I couldn't explain, oh yeah, here's a human phantom rogue. It's what? Maybe that's just me. But yeah, this is a rogue who's all about undead stuff, so he's got a skull face, and we can go into why he's got a skull face when it becomes relevant.
Nice.
We'll talk about the art when it's done, probably, too.
Sure.
There's no more twists from this point on. So this rogue, he's all about, not undeath so much, but death in general, I suppose, right? That's
the line of life and death.
That's right, yeah. What I liked about the original version of the class, it was kind of broad, but it was strong theming. This, I feel, is much looser, which is more confusing, at least to think about at first. But
I would agree, and then subsequently disagree. Because there's
Sure.
the little bit of flavor text right at the beginning lays out exactly what this is for. It says that the Shadakai are these guys, which are the Raven Queen's servants.
Yep.
Right.
And the Raven Queen's all about that she has domain kind of over souls in some aspects, or the passage of souls. She's this kind of watcher character. She's life and death in the Shadowfell. So it kind of immediately is oh, okay, you want to do something with the Raven Queen, or playing a Shadowkai, because they are in Mordekainen's as a playable race, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Then this is how to flavour that character.
Okay, and I feel like they've been doing this a lot more recently. It has examples within the settings of how you could use this, which is cool, and I appreciate it, especially when it can be contextualized what they're going for with something like that. I think that's that is helpful and pretty good stuff.
Mm.
The unclearness from my perspective is like, where am I getting these powers from? But it doesn't. This is something that you would think about on an individual level.
Yeah, I really like in the little description it says that these guys make excellent right hands to necromancers.
That's cool.
A player character who's potentially maybe had some dark dealings could be very fun.
Oh yeah. You could have the what's the background you've got currently?
Heart of Darkness.
The Heart of Darkness. Yeah, that one. And again, like this would be a good class for the Revenant sub-race that they released ages ago.
Yeah.
Really the obvious pick. I mean, weirdly enough, that's not what I'm drawing. He does have a skull for a face, but again, we'll get into that. Okay, so let's actually talk about what this guy does. So you get this class at level 3. Again, it's one that, like, I think we say this a lot, but I think it's especially for, like, a weirder class like this. If you know you're going to go into this at level 3, set it up at level 1 to 2 if you're starting at first or second level. Like, it would be weird to suddenly become this out of nowhere. I think if you had a suitably horrible experience, maybe if you die, and then like, your character goes down.
I love it.
Yeah.
That could actually be really cool.
You could organise that with the DM.
With the DM, yeah. That could be cool, actually, yeah. It's not hard to kill a second level PC. The DM just has to say, the thing hits you. And odds are you're gonna die.
To be fair with that, though, me and you did have an agreement with that in your current game, and it took a while to hit me.
I know it did. I give it my all.
I've done something quite similar with that idea with a player character who became a warlock of the Raven Queen. He was a rogue, and then he multiclassed warlock, and he got basically possessed. And that was a cool moment that then manifested his powers or whatever. So there is lots of ways you can do it. Just get very creative with like fun interactions with ghosts and death and all kinds of stuff.
So the first thing you get, level 3. Whispers of the Dead. Oh yeah, this one's kind of interesting. Again, this is like... I feel like this guy gets a lot of things and they all build up to a picture, but when you first start reading it, like, why is that what it gets?
You have a ghost friend.
Yeah, you get ghostly assistance, sort of. So you, whenever you finish a rest, you get a proficiency in a skill or a tool, as a ghostly presence shares its knowledge with you, which is kind of interesting. It's sort of... That one made a lot of... I think that might be similar to something that's from the original version of this, which made a lot of sense when it was you had multiple past lives. But I guess, if you're something to do with the transitioning of life to death, then maybe just a random spirit attaches to you as you are like a magical conduit for that.
Yeah, I guess in some way you're kind of like reaching out to that, what you need. I mean, obviously mechanically that is going to be also super useful.
Almost like a seance, like how mediums work.
Exactly. You can have like a little ceremony you do, like as everyone's waking up, and then you just...
I do question how often would you be likely to change your proficiency? Because obviously, like, it's cool when you can change it up, but how much is that actually going to happen?
Depends on the campaign, what you do.
That's true. It's true.
I would also say as a rogue, potentially often, because rogues are often skill monkey classes.
Oh, that's true. And it is on short rest as well. If it was long rest, I think you probably wouldn't, but short rest does mean you can go like, okay, well, we're at this point. I'm going to take an hour and then we'll, do some investigations or whatever.
I mean, think about this. You can be like a dexterity into wisdom charisma. You can have any of those kind of quite high. And then that's like most of the skills.
Most of the good ones.
Yeah, you can be like, there's something, we're going to need Arcana for this one.
I think persuasion
we're going to be investigating. It's social now. I can swap to the more social ones. You don't need to pick them to have them always. You can.
That's a fair point.
Jump between.
And also, if the party gets flush of cash, you can just buy all the kits.
No, that's true. Yeah, have proficiency in all the tool sets. Tools is a good one as well. That's a fair point. And I think in a small party, it could really shine as well, because when you have like 6 people, odds are good that someone's going to be trained in
something,
the thing.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is, but
you can plug those like gaps in your party like composition a bit.
So that's cool.
It could also be funny to describe all the different tools that your character has that he doesn't know how to use.
Yeah, he just looks like...
Yeah. If I were making this like myself without thinking about actual usability or balance, I think this would be a great opportunity for a random table. And so like, you get one of these. That would make it kind of unusable, but it would be funny.
So I can see maybe there's a Warhammer thing that people do. One of them, in some abilities, it's like you roll 2d6 and you get both of those, or you can pick one.
Oh, okay,
so
I can see that.
Maybe it could be like that. Oh, you can get 2 of them, or you get one of them you pick.
You know what I would do? if I was a really good DM and trying real hard, and I had a PC who was this, I would let them choose the proficiency, but I would roll a random ghost personality.
That's
for
fine.
it to be.
That's fine.
Nice.
Maybe just like a personality trait, or just so that you actually feel that it is something different, and not just I have this proficiency, I forget where I have it
I've
from.
got it. Another way that you could do this is you could have it be the last thing they killed, and you gain a tool and a skill related to that race, creature, character, whatever.
That could be cool.
And then it would basically be like they're almost haunted by the things they've done.
And that would work with some of the later stuff. But I think the way that it works now is the most usable version of it, and I think you can do a lot of work to make it work in character without it being boring. So I don't think there's an issue with that. Okay, the other thing you get at level 3 is Whales from the Grave. That's whales with an I. Not with an H, and not without an H, but no I either, anyway.
I was hoping you had to summon a skeleton whale, but...
It's a damagey thing, and this is similar to a thing from the original where you shot like a necrotic damage laser, which I thought was a bit weird. This is a better version of that. So basically, when you use your sneak attack to damage something, you can target a second creature within 30 feet, and you roll half of the die again, and they take psychic damage.
A lot of dice.
Yeah, this is where this class begins to get, in my mind, slightly wordy in the description, because it has like, you roll half the number of sneak attack dice up for your level, round up, and it's just like, there's a lot of that in this class. It's not actually complicated, it's just like, it's a lot to have written down. Anyway, you choose another creature, and they take psychic damage. As you're like stabbing a guy, and they hear the wails of the dead, and you nudge someone closer to the grave is the words that they use. Yeah,
I know it's really, really, really basic maths, like dividing a really small number by 2. But do you not think it'd just be easier to just have you roll your sneak attack again and half the damage?
I feel like surely, or just half the sneak attack damage that you dealt. I feel like that would be.
So just to make it a bit more like rather than. I got 3 sneak attacks, but it's 2 because it's rounding.
Yeah,
it's not much. I don't think it's like. I mean, most people who play the game are like fairly adult, so it's not too difficult. Sure. It is. I don't know. It seems a little bit.
I think it'd be. I would prefer to roll it and then halve it, because I think taking the same would be fine, but also rolling more dice can be fun. So that's fine. But I would just roll it and then halve it. I don't really see.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I mean, it's better. I mean, the way they have it, because you're rounding up.
Because you round up. Yeah, I don't.
It's not a big deal.
You can use this feature an equal number of times to your proficiency bonus, which again is like, okay, like it's not difficult, but it's just unusual.
Yeah, proficiency bonus, I think I like that, because proficiency bonus goes up constantly. You're not having to put points you don't need in int or wisdom.
It's not linked to a stat.
I think also, as you were saying before, maybe not, I don't think we've been recording, but nothing in a rogue says you have to be like, put loads in one stat. And this does not force you to do that.
That's such a good point. Yeah.
By having it on,
and that could actually be the reason for that. Yeah, the reason it's odd is just because nothing else, no other resources tied to proficiency like that. I'm not against it from a gameplay point of view, and I say that is good. Actually, I think I would be happy to see that in some other things that have these resources. But it is just odd.
Definitely.
Anyway, it's a cool little ability, and I think this is better than shooting a necrotic bolt of damage as like a laser. The only other thing that would make sense, I guess, for that would be like a frightened condition, but this is similar.
I like this because it is just damage, and hitting those numbers can feel good, as this is clearly what this rogue wants to do. He wants to hit some numbers.
He wants to stab a guy and then look over at his friend, and that guy go "Hoo!" and have a heart attack. And so these are the only things you have for a good while, because you don't get anything else till 9th level. So I guess like with these 2 things, it's going to be stuff that you can use like a lot.
Yeah.
So that you're not going to forget that this is the subclass that you're playing, I guess.
I really like the next one.
Tokens of the Departed. Now, this is why I've drawn a bunch of masks on this chap, and I have just drawn Greed from Full Metal Alchemist. There he is. Just ignore that. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to do it is the problem. Anyway, now there's some things I love about this and some things that confuse me. It's not actually when you kill, it's when a life ends in your presence. you snatch a token from them, from their departing soul. So yeah, as a reaction, when something dies within 30 feet, so same range as your scare, which is useful. So you have to have a free hand. You open your free hand. Okay, that's an important line of dialogue there. And a tiny trinket appears there. A soul trinket. That's a fun little bit of writing. A trinket, a soul trinket. So yeah, the DM chooses a trinket, or, now this is an important bit, you roll on the trinket table. Now, the trinket table, as we all know, is one of my favourite tables.
It's also completely insane.
Yes, it's a great table, but in this application, the idea of, like, a guy dies, and then I roll, and then I get a small portrait of a goblin.
I knew you were going to say that. A mummified goblin hand.
Or a hero's ashes. Like, what? I love this table. It's a great table.
It's a good table. I always.
It is not suitable for this purpose.
Isn't one of like a jar of something as well?
There's a jar of griffin grease.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a great table. You can't use it for this. Not if you roll randomly. I mean, you could. It's just, it would be very odd.
I honestly would have loved a new table.
Yes, I think that would be really nice for this. Well, and again, the DM can choose from the table that says, what I've done for this picture is I've assumed that it would always be a mask, for the reason being that when you have this trinket, you basically... You use it, you squish it like a Dark Souls soul in your hand, and it gives you supernatural vitality as you have the life essence of this thing that has died. This fleeting life essence, as it were. So yeah, you have advantage on death saving throws. That's a cool one. That's a nice little...
It's nice.
It's not something you want to have to use, but it's nice that it's there, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So that's very cool. And constitution saving throws, which... Yeah, as a rogue, that's nice to have.
Yeah.
I guess there's not loads of con saves you may... there's a couple.
Fair few spells are con. And like
yeah, there's a couple.
Poisons,
that's the one.
Ooh, that's a good point, yeah. Yeah, this is not a class that gives you poison immunity, which I believe, which is a rare one. No, which I think actually the original version of this class did give you poison resistance. So maybe that's a good like holdover from that, and it has that kind of undeady flavor without being just you are resistant to poison. So that's cool too. That's a fair point. You can only have
as many as your proficiency.
Yes, another proficiency thing. Yeah, you can have
a bunch of them.
2 to 5. So that's a fair few. And you can use an action to just destroy one of them, and
no matter where they are located.
Oh, that's actually that's weird, isn't it? That's a weird little bit.
You can give them to people. You could trade them. You could be a rogue
who kills people and takes their soul,
takes their trinkets, sells it, and then uses it for his own ends anyway.
But so when you destroy it, you can ask the spirit a question. So DMs, if you've got a guy playing this, make a note of what the trinket is and who it is, as it were. Don't forget that, because that will be annoying if they're carrying around this one guy for the entire campaign, and then they're like, let's ask him a question. He'll know.
So this is similar to the Raven Queen of Lily, which lets you write basically a question to the soul in your book.
Okay.
And that's what it kind of reminded me of immediately, was that.
Right.
I like very specifically that this spell just goes, it's under no obligation to be truthful. It speaks its own language, and it just wants to get out of there. So it's like, DM, don't monologue. Yeah,
you summon a ghost, you ask it one question, you probably killed it, so it probably says sod off and then dies.
But it also encourages your character to maybe show kindness or mercy.
Yeah, which is a really, because this class, there's a lot of stabbing guy being scary, but you could be the sort of shepherding death kind of figure, the Discworld version of death. I think a really good use is obviously asking, hey, you just died, have you got any last requests kind of thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously the class is a little bit edgy, but you could play it good that way. In my head, I'm thinking of there's a NPC that is the party likes, and then they die. But with this, you'd be able to get one more.
Get one thing. Yeah,
probably be like a last request thing.
By 9th level, though, you can resurrect him.
Yeah, but are you going to?
That's true.
If you haven't got demons or no cleric or whatever, or you've got disintegrated. But yeah, I think it's a very cool little thing. And again, I think the options for customization and interest are very, very broad with the trinkets. In the grand scheme of things, the actual day-to-day use of it being con saves and death saving throws, it's not wild, it's not out of this world, but it's cool. And the second use of it, I think, is much. That's the real use of it. I think is the getting a question with a dead guy.
I think that ability is so defining and cool to this class. I would have loved to have seen that at level 3. Instead of tying whales from the grave to proficiency, tie it to these.
Right. I get you. I can see that. I think if this, the shame here is that this rogue doesn't get a thing between 3rd and 9th. Because this would be like a really
stuff's coming in, isn't it?
That is how rogues roll.
Yeah, because this would be a really good like 6th level thing. I could imagine this coming at 6th. By 9th you may have better options. Speak with dead. You can have that for a while if you have a cleric.
Your mages are going to have 5th level spells.
An enemy that you respect, getting a last line from them could be cool. And as well as if you're DMing for this character like this, if you have a big villain, have something prepared for them to say if they do have a question for them beyond the grave, because could be a great opportunity for like, you've not seen the last of me, or you fools, you don't know what's coming next.
Foolish fools.
The Sunwell was merely a setback. But yeah, they're realistically always going to have some tokens on them because of it's completely free to do. Just you can't have too many of them.
And also I don't. It's just when a creature dies. So I guess. We've been talking about this as if it's intelligent humanoids. It doesn't have to be. This could be an animal.
Won't have a language though.
Yeah. But you wouldn't use it necessarily for that. But
just to have the save.
You might use it for this next one.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. So the 13th level thing, the final thing. Yeah, I believe.
No, there's one more.
Is there?
Yeah.
There's a really small level 17th level.
Oh yeah, there is. You're right. There is. Anyway, 13th level, Ghost Walk. Ooh. Spooky. Now I think this is why he's got Skullface in my drawing. Ooh. There's been a lot of classes that I've not liked where you get like a big transformation at like level. You get a mode and it's like at level 3, and I find it like, whoa, that's a bit much. You get your cool mode at 13th level, and at this point, that's fine. You go have a become Ghost Rider. By the way, this is an excellent Ghost Rider class. If you wanted to make Ghost Rider in D&D,
100%.
Whales from the Grave being the penance stare.
Yeah. I think that's. I mean, when we get to the final drawing, we'll see some Ghost Rider. Anyway, as a bonus action, okay, you phase into the realm of the dead. So you get a spectral form as a bonus action. That gives you a flying speed of 10 feet. That's not like crazy good. Obviously, by 13th level, there's options for flying speeds, but I think just having it built in is nice. That means you're never gonna fall to death or anything kind of stupid like that, which it just feels right. For
also means you can't float through like 30 feet of stone without dying, which is pretty good. It limits how much ghosting you can do.
Yeah. So exactly. You're not. It's not crazy, but it's appropriate and it should be there. Oh, attack rolls have disadvantage against you. Of course, you're semi-spectral, and you can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. But you take damage if you end your turn inside their square. This form lasts for 10 minutes or until you end it as bonus as well. I guess that's
10 minutes is good. 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes is decent. And that'll be literally any fight in D&D.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe that one thing where it's six fighters versus the Trask running away with bows and arrows. I don't know how long that combat lasts on average, but I'm sure it's a while.
I think it's about like 5 days.
Yeah, probably.
The plinky boys.
But yeah, this is another one where there's an optional resource to get it back. So usually you have to finish a long rest, or you can destroy one of your soul trinkets.
That's very good.
As part of your bonus action, that's actually good point.
You can be ghost walking a lot then.
I think you'll basically always be doing it, especially as you get your ghost trinket whenever anything dies.
Yeah. So if you're in combat, you'll have it.
Yeah, definitely. That's very cool. Obviously, having everything having disadvantage to attack you, that's pretty good. I think that's probably the. Well, I don't know what the menu to this would be actually.
How survivable Rogue is with uncanny dodge and things like that. That's pretty good. So your AC is probably going to be like, if your armor's not magical, like what, 18?
If you've got 20 and then
with magic
20 dex and then like studded, then you'd have 18 at least. Yeah, and then if it's magical, up to 21.
Which is not bad. By 13th, AC is starting to become, unless you're investing in it, then it's becoming less and less.
Yeah, unless it's over 20, it might as well be 10. Everything's got a plus 10 to hit at that point, at least.
You're either armoured or you're not.
It's nice to be able to have that option to move through things, and I guess
it moves through creatures. So you can.
So I guess you could just walk through a wall, right? A wall is an object. I assume that that's the ruling for that.
I'm gonna say one thing.
Uh-huh.
Can you even walk in this form? Because it doesn't say you gain a fly speed. It says you have a.
Now that's an interesting little point. Because
10
feet is terrible if it's the only option.
I don't think it is.
Sam, normally I would completely agree, but they normally say you gain.
I really don't think so. I think that'd be really stupid.
I don't think.
I think it'd be stupid too.
I think the only reason that I don't think it is because 10 feet would be way too low. Because that would just make it impossible.
It'd be so fucking. It would be real bad. Yeah. You'd be using.
But there's a bonus action to do it, and you can do it quite a lot. I wouldn't think.
I wouldn't think so either. You might get rules lawyered by a really bad DM.
I think this is one of those things where when this comes to like a full release, the wording will be again. This is why it's an Unearthed.
It may just be reading too much into it, but I can see a bad DM doing that, and they're always bad at that.
I think that could be interesting. I think that would be too much of a downside having it be only 10 feet.
Yeah, have it be 20 feet, no problem.
It's not very over the top, and it's relatively simple, assuming it works the way we think it does.
Death knell.
And I think we need to spend a good half an hour breaking this one down. I think.
Yeah, now death knell. This is pretty important. 17th level. You're a powerful demigod of a man or woman at this point, or whatever. When you use your Wails from the Grave feature, you now deal the psychic damage to both the first and the second.
That is utterly ridiculous.
I think that's OP. I think that needs to be
that. Madness. Dude, that's 15d6 to the primary target.
That is a lot, actually.
That's 15d6.
It's a big buff. It's a 50% buff to your bake stage.
You're gonna be murdering.
You're gonna be murdering, dude.
It's kind of
15. It's like a disintegrate, just every round.
Yeah, rogues do so much damage.
This guy's the damage guy.
I really don't know why, because sneak attack isn't as good. At early levels, isn't as good as swinging twice, but it just scales like so many dice.
That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. I don't really know what to say about that. Like, it's not super.
Because remember, it's 15d6 to the primary target, and then 5d6 to the other guy.
Yeah, and they don't make any check to like.
And then your weapon on top of that.
I think it's probably good to have something like this because, as you see, like you have a couple of bits at the beginning, and you've already got your mode. So it's good that it isn't something too complex and.
And the other things that the class does have nothing to do with doing damage, than this one ability.
And I'm gonna say that compare it to the base book Assassination Rogue, where you get like an automatic max damage, like you get automatic crits on like your first round of combat, and on a rogue that being however many million d6.
Yeah.
That you get that at level 3. So I mean, or maybe 6 even, but you get it early.
This is a lot of damage, but it's a damage type that, like, there are things that are just completely resistant to psychic damage.
And it is a rogue.
And it is 17th level.
17. So it's a lot of damage, but, like, fair enough. You've been doing a lot of role playing up to this point with this character. It's okay to do
now kill a guy.
20d6s every turn for damage. That's a lot of damage.
It's like playing orcs.
Get your bulging dice sack on the table. And
get your dice tower, which is a house, and then just chuck your d6s in the chimney, and then it's like, listen. So this is what the drawing looks like in the end. I'm pretty pleased with it, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I didn't want to draw feet, as we can see. I couldn't be bothered.
I like it.
You know what rogue feet look like? They got leather armor and belts, and then they got high shoes. They got cowboy boots.
I really like the skull a lot. You did a great job with that.
Thank you. This is his ghost mode, of course, where he becomes Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he must be over level 20. He's got 6 of them. That's not allowed.
Oh no, that's true. That's a fair point. I never even.
I think Ghost Rider's good, and therefore this class is good.
Do you really like Ghost Rider?
No.
I've never heard you talk about Ghost Riders. That caught me out of left field. I genuinely thought you liked Ghost Rider then.
I enjoy the Nicolas Cage films. The second one is an absolute trip.
I didn't know where I stood for this rogue, to be quite honest, when we started recording this. I think I like it more now than I did at the beginning of this, to be honest.
I actually did dislike it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did dislike it before today because I really liked the revived.
Right, yeah.
And I felt that this isn't that class anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This now isn't your character's the one that's related to death, previous lives. It's now almost like you're the shepherd observing it.
Yeah, I think that's what I really liked about the original. It had a lot of story to it built in, but I think this one, the origin is a little bit too, like, loose in, like, obviously you can do whatever and just make whatever you want out of it, and that's fine. But I just really liked the concept behind the original version of it, and it felt really unique. And this doesn't feel as unique as that did.
Agreed.
From the concept.
I really like it, though, as its own thing. It stands on its own easy peasy as a good subclass.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess we'll be back sooner rather than later, hopefully, for probably the wizard next.
Next.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a good subclass, and I think the opportunities for like some fun RP stuff is good. Better than a lot of the other quote-unquote edgy, classes, I think. Yeah. Because, especially as the damage stuff, because a lot of the time those kind of classes have a lot of big damage stuff, like, front-loaded, but rogue doesn't really need to have a lot of that because it gets a lot of damage from being a rogue.
Yeah.
So this gets a lot of, cool, not like hyper meta, really always going to be... You're not going to be really glad you've got a, advantage on con saves every single turn, maybe not even every single fight, but, being able to get one question out of a dead enemy or whatever, and give someone a death glare when you stab a guy. It's going to be cool and fun.
I really just want to comment here. This art is so good. I want to add this guy as an NPC to my game right now.
Feel free.
Yeah, he's awesome. I might want to actually as well.
Oh, that's actually a fair point. I might say this now and then move it back in the video, just because we have talked occasionally with the other ones about making them into NPCs. This one more conceptually works as an NPC, maybe not like abilities wise, because you don't really care about proficiency bonus and stuff for that. Yeah. But the idea of like having an NPC who pulls out like a soul, what is clearly like a soul thing, and like crushes it in combat to get a bonus of some sort, I think that could be cool. Maybe an ally dies or like is making death saves, and then this guy comes up and steals his soul and turns it into like an hourglass or a goblin finger, and he's like, what? And and then you got a quest to go get it back to revive the dude or whatever.
You can't really, because of having that somebody loves making deals kind of character.
Yeah.
You could literally just have this guy be an agent of the god of death. He appears and he's like, he barters with you. He has his own things. Maybe when you do resurrection magic, you need to talk to this guy.
That could be really good. So yeah, I think that's more or less the end of the video. This is a good class. Good job, everybody over at the coast.
Good job, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nice one, Nintendo. I think this is one of Nintendo's. Yeah, I'm looking at the bottom here. This was done by, what's the guy called? What's the new guy?
Doug Bowser.
Doug Bowser did this one.
Yeah, well, my dad, who works for Nintendo, made this one.
Yeah. My dad got a job at Nintendo to make subclasses for TNT. Once you work for Nintendo, you can get a job anyway.
Yeah, this will be out on the eShop any day now.
I can't wait for the Amiibo.
Yeah.
The Wii store. This guy's going to get added to Smash. Yeah. He's going to be really weirdly detailed and
only from the waist up.
Yeah, and but unfortunately turn based. Anyways, I think that's the end of the video. Thanks everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.